Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I don't have my usual mic here with me today, but that's okay. I'm going to do a quick fintech video here that generally I don't get a lot of views from because people still don't really seem to care about these stocks. I don't know what they actually care about, but I don't care because I have a position in 4 of these fintech stocks, and I like the way that they look very much. This is SOFI, and as you can see, it basically got rejected here at the top of this arc over here and came back down, back test the arc back to 0.618 log fib here. It looked like it bounced from that very, very much perfectly, coming back and trying to back test this breakout zone over here and close the gap. Where are we at right now? Are we kind of just in the middle of nowhere? Well, we are actually getting some support here at the Tenkan or conversion line, where we call it here on the weekly, right? You do have some other support zone down here that are just a lot further, but it doesn't necessarily have to go that far. This is a very, very impulsive chart because if you look at the monthly, you can see how the Bollinger Band has just been expanding to the upside and to the downside. You can see how last month is just simply closed the month way outside the upper Bollinger Band here. They even touch it. So this month you're going to have some volatility, wick up, wick down to, really trying to get some solid grounding here, grab some liquidity to upside and downside, basically just going sideways here and doing nothing for the month of January. But overall, on the weekly here, it still looks very much very, very bullish. Now, if you're looking at any potential bearish diversions and things like that, you're like, yeah, I see some bearish diversions here on the weekly where price has kind of gone up here, but RSI has just kind of gone down, right? And can that be potentially concerning? Yeah, it can be, but doesn't necessarily mean that price have to go down a lot. Not necessarily. I think it's kind of doing what Robinhood has been doing on the way up, right? It does open a possibility for a flush for SOFI to happen, because you can see how price kind of going up here is a little bit exhausted. You can see how our side kind of have a little bit of bearish divergence here, and that worked out in August of 2024. We have a big giant flush down below, but then eventually you're able to break out a lot higher anyway from that area. So even if this sets up for like some short-term volatility here, and not all bearish divergence has to work out. Yeah, but it's just one of those things. If I see a bearish divergence, I'm going to have to point it out. I think that it is very much overextended. Things can get overextended for a very long time. Things can certainly keep going up higher on bearish divergence. Like there's no doubt in my mind there's a potential for it to go even up to the 20s over here on bearish divergence. That's possible. But when I see it, I just simply want to kind of point it out. That's all. And you know what I'm going to do about it? I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit on my position and do nothing. Kind of like how I've been doing with the second stock that I'm going to talk about here with the fintech space, Robinhood. I did nothing here during this entire volatility where people might get really, really scared, but I've just decided to do nothing. And it worked out pretty well for me. Again, you can see how price can keep going up on bearish divergence. Eventually, you can have a trend line that breaks and it just keeps on wanting to go up higher. It's possible, right? Right now, the trend is extremely, extremely impulsive for Robinhood. I haven't seen a bullish stock like this for a very long time. You can see the upper Bollinger Band, the lower Bollinger Band here on the monthly has been dragged to the upside and to the downside, and there's not really any sign for it stopping anytime soon. So even if there's any crazy volatility, plus or minus 20-25%, which can happen, entirely possible for it to happen, it still doesn't really want to shake me out, because stocks don't just go V-shape up and V-shape down just like that. Usually they're going to let you show some tiredness, show some weakness, allowing you to kind of exit at a much higher price before you just end up calling the top. I just don't see a particular reason to call the top. Just like over here, I didn't really want to call the bottom. I didn't know how base Robinhood was going to be. I didn't really end up buying Robinhood until I see a lot of confirmation here. Around $12 is my cost average here, right? So there's no reason for me to sell out on a parabolic movement on the way up. There's just really no reason for me to do that. Is it overextended? Heck yeah, it's overextended. But it can stay overextended for a while, and this is the phase of the bull market where it can do some pretty sickening things, and I'm not going to get in the way. Did it hit any major resistance level that I thought was going to get rejected? Yeah, I actually thought it was going to get rejected here at 0.786. It can still do that. today, but I think that it's unlikely. So far, just looking at it, it looks like it's just kind of want to keep going higher, unless if they do some shenanigans on Friday and decide to push price back down to below the 0.76, which I suppose isn't entirely possible. But so far, it looks like it might be wanting to break through the 0.76 log fib, which can let it potentially get up to 0.86 log fib up here around $63.74, which is insane. It could even just kind of slowly get up here and also touch the arc up here around 60 some dollars over here too. That's entirely possible. Now, if things break above the 0.76, especially if there's also breaking above the 0.86, then some all-time high for Robinhood is possible. I, at some point, would like to see a little bit of a higher low before going up, because there's just been a parabolic uptrend over here. It's getting a little bit unhealthy, but, you know, again, it can just keep eating fried chicken, and it doesn't have to stay healthy for me, and it can be crashing down much, much later. It could be like a year or two later, you know, before it crashes down. So I'm just going to end up staying in this, not doing anything about it, and keep holding on to my position with my dear life. Especially when you have, I believe, altcoin season coming, which I think they're trying to get ahead of it with Robinhood. AFRM is a stock, is a position that I hold, and it's been doing nothing over the last 2 or 3 months or so, right? Corrected all the way from the 70s going to the 50s here. Right now, it's kind of bouncing right back up here. What are we doing here with AFRM? Well, I still think that AFRM is trying to backtest perhaps these wicks up here at the horizontal, you know, zone. Maybe this wick up here, maybe these wicks up here, right? It's just basically finding a horizontal zone that's trying to get some support at. And so far, we have a bullish engulfing candle showing most likely a trend reversal here. And as far as I'm concerned, it's hitting a little bit of resistance here. So, you know, you're not just able to kind of push through here, but you're also finding some pretty decent support band support here, right? Bounce all the 0.618. A lot of support has been tested. I think it's going to break through the tank in here maybe over the next week or two. And I think there's a good trend reversal. I think the next step up is going to be for AFRM is going to be $92.56 here. And overall, if you look at the monthly, all these fintech stocks look about the same here, with the exception that for AFRM, you have the upper Bollinger Band expansion, but lower Bollinger Band is kind of curling up here. Maybe if we end up having a more impulsive candle to push up, then you might end up dragging the Bollinger Band down here below like it did over here. But so far, we've consolidated sideways here for way too long, so you actually end up having a little bit of Bollinger Band contraction here on the lower side, but the upper Bollinger Band is still expanding. So I think that is probably going to take us to 0.76 here for Q1 or maybe sometime Q2 2025. I still feel extremely bullish on this stock, and if it breaks above the 0.76, then it can make some crazy all-time high stuff. But we'll talk about that when we get there, right? Shopify, another stock that I do own, very, very much of a similar picture here, where the price kind of pushing on the upper Bollinger Band, very impulsive price action, to the point that it's bringing the lower Bollinger Band down as well, up and down, right? So this is a very impulsive bull trend here. If I look at the weekly, here, you see how it basically didn't even bother touching below support band, higher highs, higher lows. It just keeps it wants to keep going up higher. Well, look at the GAN here. What is it doing? Well, it came back and back tested confluent zone with the ARC and 0.5. And right now we're kind of pushing back here. The zone here got rejected here 2 months ago. And right now we're able to kind of maybe possibly closing the month, not about the 0.618 level here. We'll see. I think today is going to be the telltale sign. Again, if they're going to do any kind of shenanigans today, they might end up pushing it below the 0.618 and close the month. But regardless, I think the signs are there. I think it's going to end up breaking through. And it didn't even bother touching the Ichimoku cloud down here below. So could it still do that later? Maybe. I was speculating with the wick going down like that. It was either going to touch the arc over here and bounce, which it did, 0.5 and bounce, which it did, or it was going to end up going all the way down here to the cloud. It didn't really end up doing that. So we overextended a little bit, but maybe we just kind of break the 0.76 and cover sideways here a little bit, wait for some of the technicals to kind of catch up before going up higher. I don't know, but Shopify is still a very bullish stock. Higher highs, higher lows. I don't know whether or not it's going to have to form a much higher low here for Shopify. PayPal is a bullish stock here too. I mean, it got up to the 90s here, but you can see a bullish cross over here on the monthly. It looks like once it gravitated up here to the cloud, probably to the 120s is where my target is going to be over time. You can also see a Bollinger Band expansion is allowing that to do that over time. So I really don't have any major concern with this stock. It's also hitting the Tenkan here as support. The only thing is I do think that this uptrend over here over the last 6 months or so has been a little bit on a little bit of exhaustion here. You're starting to get a little bit of bearish divergence here, like you are with SOFI, right? Like you did with Robinhood, with some consolidation sideways over here before a push up. So you might end up having to kind of go sideways here a little bit longer, like SOFI, because of this bearish divergence. But price can keep going up on bearish divergence. That doesn't really, bother me all that much. And that could also be shown here too. It's an uptrend all the way up here on bearish divergence all the way to the arc resistance, right? This arc over here is based on a Gann chart that I drew all the way from the beginning of the stock. And you can see how it's really been respecting the arc here very beautifully, right? Rejection here from COVID, push through, rejection here at the top of the arc here, came back down, couldn't hold the arc, came back underneath the arc, trying to find support here at the angle, bounced through the arc, and right now we're back to the arc resistance. So if it breaks the arc resistance, I think things are going to be a lot more bullish, but we're simply having some exhaustion signs over here. I'm not sure we're just going to end up breaking through and just keep going higher. Even if we do, I think we still need to break through 0.32 here at the psychological level, $100. Once it pushes through, then you might have some pretty decent bullish stuff happening. And again, I think it's probably going to get to the 120s where this angle is going to be at, right? It's going to get to the 120s where the Ichimoku cloud is at up here, right? That's what I think about PayPal. But it's a bullish chart. It might end up having to kind of form a little bit of a higher low here somewhere. I don't know where exactly. But once you push through the arc, I think things are going to be pretty bullish, and it's going to gravitate up here too. The Ichimoku cloud here, probably around the 120s is what I'm thinking. SQ is also a bullish chart. I actually find this setup to be extremely incredibly bullish because it's just kind of consolidating sideways over here for about 2.5, 3 years. And then basically we have a breakout of this 0.382 resistance, and we back tested it, right? So that allows price to go a lot higher. If you look at the Bollinger Band, you also see a Bollinger Band monthly expansion to the upside, to the downside here, with the 20-month moving average curling up. A lot of things are looking very, very bullish. You had a bullish cross here, and prices above the Tenkan and the Kijun, probably going to end up grappling up to the cloud over here between the 0.5 and 0.618. I just find this to be a pretty bullish chart. Why am I not buying it? I'm pretty heavy on fintech already. I don't really need another fintech, but if I have extra money, if I want to buy something, if I don't find any other opportunities in other sectors, I might buy more SQ here. So finding support here on support band, right? Beautiful setup. On the Ichimoku, right above the Ichimoku, on the 2-week chart, you see what it's trying to do. The Katana over here. Katana is bullish if you have a bullish cross, right? You did have a bullish cross, and the blue got above the red. This is bullish, and the blue is serving as support. It looks like it might want to try to push SQ above the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, and once it pushes through, I think it's going to be pretty bullish after that. This is where it's kind of getting rejected at right now, so I think keeping a close eye on that is good. I've been eyeing this for over the last few weeks. We'll see. But I find this to be a pretty bullish chart here. Now, Upstart, what's going on with Upstart here? I'm going to pull up the weekly chart. It's very, very simple in terms of what it's doing. It's forming higher highs and higher lows, right? It's respecting all these Gann arcs over here, and it's just simply got rejected here at the confluent zone of the Gann angle and the Gann arc, dropped down underneath the 0.5, did not even bother to touch the 0.382. It ended up just wanting to back test this horizontal breakout zone over here. And you can also see that it basically found support here at the Kijun, or the baseline over here. So on top of all that, it also is finding support here at the bottom support band. So because you did have a very parabolic wave up here getting rejected here, confluent zone, it has to come back and find support somewhere and try and basically push through the 0.5, and the arc over here is having a little bit of a hard time doing that because it's a pretty strong resistance zone, right? It's just spent a lot of energy, push through up here, got rejected, and then you need to build up a little bit more energy to kind of go up here. But overall, I still find this to be a pretty bullish chart. How much longer it's going to hover underneath 0.5 and hover underneath the arc over here? I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that. Anytime when you have a big giant move up like that, consolidation for about 3 months is reasonable. I don't think it has to consolidate that much longer, but overall it's a bull trend. You can also see how it is rising on the upper Bollinger Band here. I think the upper Bollinger Band here around the 70 is probably going to end up being a magnet for price to kind of go up higher, but it just simply had to correct because it was way outside the upper Bollinger Band here. It just simply wasn't ready to kind of push up a lot higher. Ultimately, I think that Upstart's going to go a lot higher. I think that it's going to, given time, break through the 0.618 and go up to the next arc up here, even to the next horizontal candle level over here, which is going to be triple of where it is right now. And that could happen maybe sometime in 2025, 2026. I think Upstart has the potential to push up that much higher. It's crazy, but I think it's possible. NU, it's looking better, right? It got rejected here at 1.414, and it was going up with very, very tired RSI, right? To the point that it just got completely exhausted here at a big resistance level at 1.414. It just says, I can't do this anymore, I need a break. Well, the bulls need a break, bears came to play, pushed all the way down to a very important fib level, 0.76 here, bounced hugely, right? Had a V-shaped recovery. So far it looks like it wants to gravitate back up to the 1.414 here. If it is able to kind of break through a little bit of a trend line here, not a perfect trend line, but it's got a little bit of a trend line over here you can kind of see, right? If it's able to break through this, then you can re-challenge 1.414 here, and then we'll see what happens. I think we have the volume to potentially be able to do that, at least get to 1.414 and just maybe just kind of hover around there for a little bit before we figure out what the next step is going to be. That's what I think about ANU. One other fintech that I'm not in, but I'm going to talk about anyway, is right? Shift 4 payments. Pretty bullish chart here. You are running up on a little bit of bearish divergence, right smack into a important fib level resistance, right at 1.236 here, which is not surprising where it's getting rejected. So I think there's a possibility for a price to kind of come back down, form a little bit of a higher low before pushing up higher. You do have a Tenkan over here as potential support around 110. You do have a boomerang support band all the way down here at the previous all-time high, right? So a lot of support levels down here below. But if you ignore the lower time frame, you just look at a higher time frame, this is a bull trend. I think it's going to keep going up a lot higher, just like what SOFI is doing, right? On a little bit of bearish divergence, but that's okay. At a resistance level, but that's okay. You can have some pretty volatility, like pretty strong volatility, and come back down, even drop like 20% or something like that, form a higher low before going up higher. I'm not concerned about the long-term trend here. I think this is just kind of gotten started for about a year or so, and I think it probably wants to continue over time. The only issue with this is it's a little bit overextended on a lower time frame. You see a little bit of bearish divergence. It needs to form a higher low. I don't know how low the higher low is going to be. But yeah, I think if you buy, you might experience a little bit of short-term pain, but it's probably still going to be a lot of long-term gain, if you will. I don't think the cycle is going to end for Shift, probably until at least get to 150, if not higher. I think 2.272 around $200 is entirely possible for this stock during this cycle. Anyway, just want to talk about all these fintech stocks. Got 9 stocks here for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one. Bye.